Welcome back, my dear friends. This is episode number 135 on the Zero Point Healing Show. And today I have with me an amazing guest, and I'm truly looking forward to this beautiful conversation. And today, the conversation is going to be about how to train your brain for success and happiness. All right. So before I move on to my guest here, just a short intro about me and about this platform of Zero Point Healing. So I'm Vishnupriya, and I'm certified in multiple different holistic healing modalities. And through the journey of getting certified in so many different modalities, and I was like, I should say I was in this kind of wonderland, right? For so many years, I didn't know anything about holistic healing or spirituality or anything of that nature. And all of a sudden, I got introduced to the law of attraction. And from there, I went on to so many different modalities of Reiki healing and theta healing. I got to know about Psyche, motion code, and so many different modalities and got certified in some of them. And as I got certified, I was like, every single modality was turning up, opening up new doors in my life. And I was like, wow, what's happening in my life? Things are changing all of a sudden. So I was going through this intense transformation. And I guess today, where I am is kind of a result of all of these different modalities. And I've done kind of at least 100 plus holistic healing sessions with so many different practitioners now. And basically, where I got started and where I am now is a huge kind of jump, leap in my life. So that's how I got inspired to create this platform called zeropointhealing.com. So, somewhere along those lines, I was tapping into how beautiful would it be to have one directory, one place where all the healers, all the practitioners of this entire holistic healing industry can come in and join together. So that's how this entire web directory got created. And this year specifically, we are doing something amazing. It's a online event. It's a global healers carnival. It's an online event where all the clients and all the practitioners are coming on in the same space, where the practitioners are offering free sessions for the clients, and clients can get a taste of so many different modalities, so many different practitioners in a single day. So that's what this is about. And it is on June 20th, which is like 12 days from now. So all of you are invited. If you want to join in, please go to the same zeropointhealing.com web directory. All right. So with that, my opening speech is here done, and I'm now moving on to my amazing guest here. Welcome, Ron. Thank you so much for joining me, and it's such a pleasure for me to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into this world.
Well, thanks for having me. Your journey and my journey is very similar in a lot of ways. And I'm sure there's a lot of your listeners that have a similar journey. We were born into this world for a reason, weren't we? It's maybe taken us a while to figure out why, but I was always very sensitive, and I never felt like I fit in. So I think in part because of that, I became a psychotherapist. I was a traditional psychotherapist for about 30 years. And I thought I was pretty good at what I did. But then I started to discover alternative forms of healing. And I started with Psych-K. And I've since become certified in other things. But Psych-K has been my go-to for 8 years. So I was working at a VA hospital, working with veterans with severe emotional trauma, PTSD, and other mental health issues. And I started to integrate Psych-K into the work, and it was profound, the difference, comparing it to traditional work. So in traditional psychotherapy, you'd work with someone for a year or more, and maybe you'd see some changes, but not necessarily a lot. A lot of just maintaining people in their life, that kind of thing, not real change. Where Psych-K come along, it was profound in terms of people were making very rapid changes, really able to get beyond those things that were haunting them and get on with their life and start to make the most out of that life. So it was an honor for me to introduce that. So I did that for about 5 years. Then I retired from the VA, and now I just do all alternative work online in a private practice. And it's an honor because, I know that this work is much more effective and efficient than traditional therapy. The good news too is it's helped me change a lot too. So uh, it's not just like I'm changing, helping other people change. It's like these tools are wonderful for our own personal transformation, and I see a clear reflection between the amount of change I make and what happens in my life.
That is so amazing, and nice to know that you have come through that traditional psychotherapy background. So interesting this conversation is going to be with your experience on both ends of the spectrum. So now let's get into the topic, how to train your brain for success and happiness. So let's begin. What do you kind of see, and how, I guess, more of your experience is going to be really helpful for the viewers here. So can you tell us also how the training your brain happens with you personally?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, well, I would imagine some of your audience, maybe most of your audience, has heard of Bruce Lipton. Bruce Lipton is a cell biologist who he's a scientist, and he's done a lot of research to show that um, there's a correlation between how we think and what shows up in our lives. It's epigenetics is the science itself. So our subconscious mind is this vast warehouse of information, and research shows about 95% of our behavior is driven by the subconscious mind. And when you think about that, we don't have a lot of conscious control over what's happening. Very important. If we want to make real change, we have to make it on a subconscious level. We have to make those changes in those neural pathways in our brain that keep firing the same way over and over again, around how we feel about ourselves, how we believe, because all that adds up into our own behavior and what we do in life. So they can put electrodes on your brain nowadays, and they can show you. I'm not a scientist, but my understanding is they can show you exactly where those neural pathways are firing. And so they're like highways, and they get very entrenched. But something like PSYCH-K comes along. It's not the only modality. Something like PSYCH-K comes along, and they can change those neural pathways. And so that you can start behaving differently and start believing differently about yourself. And that's the magic that happens in life when you make those changes in the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind has some unique characteristics. Um, it doesn't know time, so everything is happening right now as far as your subconscious mind is concerned. And so all those things you were told as a child, things from your past life, whatever, it's all there as information in the subconscious. And if you really want to take control of your life, you have to get in there, you have to address those things and free them up. So that's the exciting thing about this work, is we don't have to be bound by the subconscious, and we don't use a cognitive approach to get there. uh, that's the problem with traditional therapy, is very often it's talk therapy. We're just trying to talk somebody out of an idea. We're trying to convince somebody to love themselves. We're trying to empower somebody just by talking to them. But very little happens on a conscious level, because the subconscious mind processes information so much faster than the conscious mind. So to override the subconscious, you can't really do that on a conscious level. You have to do it using things like PSYCH-K and other modalities. So that's the exciting thing. And how did it affect me? Tremendously. So here I was, a therapist working in an agency, making a salary, um, hoping for a little bit of a bonus at the end of the year, but feeling a lot like a slave, because I had to meet with people every hour and hour and hour and hour. And so that's how your performance is rated. And so think about it, there was very little excitement or enthusiasm about that kind of occupation. So as I learned Psyche, I learned to change my own limiting beliefs. And I started to change. As I changed those limiting beliefs, my life started to change around me. And, the light bulb went on. Is, boy, this stuff really works, number one. And number two is, if I want to have a life that's better than what I have now, I have to change on what's going on in my own head, what's going on in my own subconscious. So little by little, I made those changes. I wasn't able to go from point A to point B in one big leap. I took smaller steps along the way, but this is basically what I did. I realized that for me to get out of this salary trap, I'd have to have my own private practice. So, but the first thing I did was I went to work for somebody else's practice. And I was just getting a small percentage of what they were making. And here I was doing the work. And it didn't take me very long to realize that I had to make a change in that. And so I had to make some changes in my own fears about, can I have my own practice? If I have my own practice, I have to spend a lot of money. I have to open up an office. I have to buy furniture. There was all these things that went through my mind, right? Well, as I changed my limiting beliefs, things started to unfold. Um, I ran into a friend of mine who was a yoga instructor, and she introduced me to someone who had an office space that I could use. All I had to do was to pay $10 to that person per session. Um, I got instantly all the furniture and decoration, everything I needed. I had the office space. So that was not a problem at all. All of a sudden, instantly, I had the office space. And it didn't cost me hardly anything to do my sessions there. I started by billing insurance because I was a licensed psychotherapist. Um, But there's a problem with being a traditional psychotherapist. First of all, you should only work with people who are in your state because that's the state you're licensed in. Number two is the insurance companies only pay for certain types of procedures. They don't pay for alternative work. So as I continued to work through my own limiting thoughts and limiting beliefs, um, new ideas came to me, new opportunities showed up. So all of a sudden, I was charging cash, which was a hurdle I needed to get over. Would people pay me cash for my work? I got busier. I started making more money as I charged cash, which was astounding to me. Then um, I ended up going online so I could work with people around the world. So from there, it just kept growing and growing and growing, and it all is a complete reflection of the changes that were happening within me. Wow. So now I have that as a reference for working with other people. I understand that process, so I can help people make those changes on a subconscious level so that they can change their lives.
Absolutely. And you know how our beliefs create our reality, and the more we kind of change our beliefs, it's like it's literally like what's I'm seeing around me is just the reflection of what's inside, my brain, for example.
That's correct.
Right, so
Yes.
it's my beliefs that's showing myself in front. So when I continue changing here inside, it feels like my entire outside changes. And this is very much what happened in my life as well. So today I'm actually being in my farm, and this was one of my big dreams for past 2 to 3 years. And very similar story, I might have to say, which was changing my beliefs with so many different tools here. And today it feels like, wow, I finally, so just this month I was able to kind of get to where I wanted. So it was like beautiful transformation that was coming up. So let's talk a little more about maybe what happens. So let's say a particular client who are watching this wanting to book a session with you, and if they come in and they kind of book the session, what happens within the session, and what kind of questions or things can they come with, what challenges can they come with, and how would you be able to kind of help them?
Yes, I'm going to always honor what the person wants to work on, what they want to accomplish. But I like, with permission, using my intuition. So I do intuitive reading to start off my session. It's usually very quick. Because what I do to start off my session is I do a little prayer, and I really ask. spirit, to intervene and to guide me in the session. What I found over the years, even in traditional therapy, is I became a much better therapist when I got myself out of the way. So I start off the session by getting myself out of the way, trying to listen intuitively to what kind of where I'm being pointed, and then I share that with a person. Doesn't mean what I'm sharing is accurate. It's just that it's like a starting point, and then I ask for feedback. Does that make sense to you? And so, based on that and what the person wants, I usually get guided as to what is the best modality to use right now, because I've, trained in other things. And then, what specifically seems the biggest boulder that's in the way right now for that person in relation to their goals and what they're trying to accomplish. And it can be anywheres from an entity attachment, a curse of some sort, or just a limiting belief. So it could be a wide variety of things. And I am I al- I'm oftentimes amazed and certainly honored at the opportunity to let happen what needs to happen. And sometimes it's even other people coming in that have maybe deceased and want to give a message or whatever. So whatever wants to happen is what I allow to happen.
Wow, that's so amazing. And maybe we can also talk a little bit about other modalities that you might have that maybe, people watching would like to know about.
I trained with Brent Phillips, and he calls it awakening dynamics. It's very similar to theta healing. And so, what I feel personally is that we modalities are developed because people get these amazing insights, and they discover these skills within themselves that give it a name. But the reality, we all have these skills within us. So we all have the ability to move energy, for example. And what I notice with the Brent Phillips kind of work that I do is I just notice things about someone. I notice stuck energy, and just in the noticing of it, it starts to release. So it's the intention to let something go that allows it to go. If there's an attachment of an entity of whatever, it's all an approach of just love and respect and understanding. And in that space, things can change in and of themselves. And one may wonder, you know, is anything being done? But very often people will feel it. They'll feel it happening inside themselves. I feel a heat energy, or I feel a shift taking place, and so on. So that's one thing I do. But I also have recently been certified in body code and emotion code. Sorry, I'm in the process of being certified in body code. Um, and I just find that whenever a new tool comes along, there's value in it. It gives me something a little bit extra. So when spirit says to me, okay, let's put some focus over here, spirit tells me, use this tool right now. It seems to be a good one to use. So I like having extra tools in my toolbox, because sometimes I pull out a hammer, sometimes a screwdriver. I don't know, that's just my analogy, but it feels like that's what's happening. And more and more nowadays, it's a combination of all of those happening at the same time. Um, so bottom line is, get ourselves out of the way, get myself out of the way, and allow things to unfold. It's pretty beautiful. And I'm sure you experience that.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess that's the way healers, even though there are all these different names to different modalities and certifications, but I totally resonate with, it's all coming from within us, and we kind of have the knowing of how these different tools actually work. So, and do you kind of maybe have, so I'm still going back into the kind of questions that, that the viewers might be asking about. So what kind of issues, challenges, problems can people come to you with? Also, if you have any client stories to share, somebody came to her with a certain
Sure.
problem, and what kind of,
Yeah.
result did they get? Yeah.
Yeah. I tend tend to be a rather on the brave side when it comes to whatever is presenting itself to me. Um, and if I haven't had any experience with something, I'm still open to it as long as I get myself out of the way and trust that Spirit's going to guide me in wherever we need to go. But I've what I bring to the table, I think, is my psychotherapy background. So people who have mental health issues, who are maybe suicidal, that kind of thing, I'm relatively comfortable with. I have to have some caveats to all of that. Some of this work I will not do just by myself. I need to know that this person has support on their end, traditional therapist, or, some kind of group support, something that's helping them. So I'll work with addictions, mental health issues, and so on. But over the years, I've expanded out to, entity attachments and a lot of past life stuff and so on to help people get free. I do tend to work with a lot of business people, because business people oftentimes realize there's something on a subconscious level that's getting in the way of them, um, you know, uh, making the money that they want. A lot of times they have a pattern: making money, losing it, making money, losing it, and so on. So, that I enjoy as well. So I'm pretty eclectic in terms of where I go and what I do. In terms of a story, um, the first one of the first people I ever worked with was a woman who worked in my office, a colleague of mine, and I had just learned Psych-K, and so I was really gung ho to experiment as much as I could. And so she walks into my office with a migraine headache, had one for a few days, wanted to take time off so that she could go to the doctor and get some shots, because she felt that would be the only thing that could help her now. So I offered her the opportunity of giving Psych-K a try, um, and she grabbed at it. So she sat down in my office, and I just asked her a quick question. When was the first time you ever noticed that you had migraine headaches? And she got very quiet as she thought about it, and then she teared up a little bit and shared that she had never thought about this before, but it seems like it might have been around the time that her father tried to murder her mother. And that was like, I didn't know that about her at all. And it was like, whoa, okay. Do you think that's something we maybe should work on? So she agreed to that. And as soon as we started working on that trauma and releasing that trauma for her, her migraine instantly went away. And what's profound about this is that after that session, we had a few more sessions, but her migraines never came back. And then she also had issues with not being able to sleep at night. Then now all of a sudden she was sleeping well at night. So when we have a very acute trauma, it's, excuse me, the phone's ringing. I'm just going to disconnect that. When we have a very acute trauma, it can be very easy to turn around the symptoms. When something is very chronic, it can take more work. But if it's just one specific incident that hasn't been released, it's amazing how quickly someone can change. So that was a very exciting experience for me, and certainly gave me a lot of momentum moving forward. I worked with a lot of veterans who had severe, PTSD related to battle experiences, and what I noticed in their cases, if it was only like one acute trauma, they were able to change very quickly. But if they had traumas, let's say before they even went in the military, they had like abusive childhood or something like that, and then they had trauma in the military, there was a lot more work that was needed. But they also made tremendous gains, but it just took a longer period of time.
Wow. Yeah, and this was such an amazing story here of the kind of the person with the migraine and how quickly it changes, especially, in my different way of doing it as well. I guess the question is the same, when did this thing get started? And most likely there's some kind of trauma, something that they went through that kind of manifested as some kind of physical illness or mental illness.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
And then
Bruce
use
Lipton refers to that as the epigenetic point of origin. Sorry to interrupt.
uh-huh, yes, and then using any tool, I guess, now that we have found out the root of it, it feels like picking out that root is such an easy thing with the different tools we have.
Yes, yes, correct.
Beautiful. Alrighty. So, what kind of different sessions do you provide? Is there any different packages, programs that you might be offering the clients?
Yes, my primary session is a full hour, um, and I charge $225 for a full hour session. It's because we accomplish so much in an hour. And my average number of sessions, people ask me, well, how many sessions am I going to need? My average number of sessions is about 4. When you think about compared to traditional therapy, there's just no comparison. Um, and so I want to get paid for my value. But I also offer a 3-session package, which is $597, and that brings it down to $199 an hour. But in addition to that, now that I'm doing emotion code, I also offer a traditional, more emotion code kind of package, which is 20 minutes to a half hour for $97. But that's without much talking. That's really just very zeroed in on clearing out the trapped emotions.
Beautiful. And also, I guess you mentioned about the body code. Do you want to kind of uh,
Yeah, if anybody's interested, anybody wants to go to my website, and the first 4 people that reach out to me and who have some kind of a physical issue that they want to work on, um, I will offer them 3 body code sessions for free because not certified yet. I'm in training, and I have to work with at least 20 people, and I'm committed to doing that as quickly as I can. And so if anybody wants to take advantage of that, I'm happy to do that. So we will do a pre-assessment, a post-assessment, and then 3 sessions in between.
wow, that's an amazing deal. Also, uh, my dear viewers, we also have a 10% off discount coupon called the 0 Point. So when you're contacting Ron, just let him know that you found him from 0 Point Healing and he would do that for you. Wow, that's so much information covered in such a short time. Thank you so much. And is there any final closing words that you have for us?
The only thing that I can think is that, a lot of times I hear people get very frustrated because they've tried a lot of things and they haven't gotten the results they're looking for. I think we only have 2 choices: either give up or keep going. And there's no doubt in my mind, you got to keep going. Don't give up. Look for that magic that's going to happen.
Yes. And I've also seen in my journey of healing, I guess every healing session, everything that I've done has contributed me to take on to that next level. So I've seen people saying about, hey, I did those different healing sessions, nothing worked. But from my point of view, now when I look back at my trajectory, I can see how every healing that I've done has taken me to that next step and next step. And now the more I climb the steps, the intense transformation there is at the top. So initially when I got started, it just felt like I'm moving like a tortoise, very slow. And now it feels like I've become a horse as I have come through this journey.
I'm glad you shared that. That's excellent. Yes.
Beautiful. Alrighty. So, my dear viewers, those of you who would like to book a session with Ron, you can click the link right around somewhere up or down in this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's going to be below this video. You can click on the link, you can take a look at it at his services. And if you want to book a session, in fact, he has, for the first 4 members, he has free body code sessions. I've taken multiple body code sessions as well, and it's such an amazing modality. So I would highly recommend those of you watching to click on and grab in. And thank you so much for those of you watching on YouTube. You can also subscribe and share this video with your loved ones, with your family, friends whom you think that this video is going to be a contribution. I'm going to see you next time. Thank you, Ron. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.